studios in New York City. This is Charlie Rose.
We remember Robin Williams this evening. He was my friend, and he was a friend of this program. He came to this table often. Nobody on the planet could be so spontaneous, so improvisational, so smart as Robin Williams. Simply stated, there was no one like him. In a league of giants, think Letterman and Carson and so many more in television and stand-up and film, he was a unique giant. So talented it took your breath away. He was the guaranteed laugh, so smart and so quick, but impossible to define. If you're in journalism, your instinct is not to praise, but simply to state he was brilliant. He was the brightest star who fell to earth and is now among the stars. Officials will answer the question why he died and how he died. The rest of us simply say, thanks for coming to the table. We will never forget you. The first time he came to this table was 16 years ago. 1998 was the year he would win the Academy Award for his performance in Good Will Hunting.
Do you look for this kind of role because it gives some balance to the kinds of things that you're going to do?
Yeah, because it could... I love being a supporting part. That for me, a supporting role is extraordinary for me because it's two things. It takes the pressure off, but it's also being part of an ensemble. But a role like this, because it's... I like to try and take a turn, like, you know, to do a movie like Flubber, which is a children's movie, no bones about it, and to do something like this, which is totally the other way. To also play a character that is slightly, is tough, he has his own problems. No, it's a wonderfully complex character, and I love to do that. Yeah, it balances it out. That's why I always keep trying to do as many different types of things as possible, not one particular type of role.
Take me to two places. One is what's going on with your character, because when this guy walks in the room, and then what happens in the relationship? What is it that Sean finally gives Will that makes a difference?
Before the first time he walks in, it's like my wife died a couple of years before. I've been teaching at this place called Bunker Hill Community College. I teach, you know, all different types of psychology classes, but I've kind of withdrawn. I did go to MIT with Stellan's character, but, you know, I chose, he's a Vietnam vet.
Stellan is the math professor, the genius who won the big
the
prize.
Fields Prize, right. The Fields Medal winner. And basically he's, you know, he chose a life of, you know, working in the neighborhood, working basically in Boston and working back with the people he grew up with. I mean, in a weird way, he's kind of like, in Matt's character, he wanted to work with the people he knew and, you know, the community he grew up in. But he's guarded. He's been through a lot. What he offers Matt's character is a perspective. It's like of saying, you know, and like in the first time, when he presses the buttons, when he starts to attack the memory of my wife, it pushes a button that I can't even control myself, and I basically go for him. And I violate the therapeutic relationship in that moment. It's no longer a therapeutic relationship, and that's why, you know, the next session, that speech by the Swan Pond, is essentially saying, okay, I know who you are, you know who I am, and you really, you know, you messed with my life in a huge way. But I want you to know I know who you are, and I know you need some help. And if you want to work on that, I'd love to help you. But it's up to you, and that's why I say it. And then it just begins, this process of the two of them just talking, you know. First couple of times they don't even talk. It's a standoff, you know, where he won't even say anything. And then it works to a point where finally we start, I mean, I have to kind of tell him, you know, we ask him a few questions and he tells things and he starts to work. And then I start sharing a little bit of myself for some reason with him. The reason probably is that in him you see yourself. He sees in himself, he sees, you know, I see the same mind going, and I see where it could go. It's like that argument that we have with Stellan's character in the bar, where he gives the Einstein thing of, you know, what would Einstein have done if, you know, he didn't need anything, he became this great mind. I said, yes, and also there's another great mind who lived in Montana named Theodore Kaczynski. So it's that idea of he needs work. There are things, he can have everything. I know he's a genius, that's a given. That's not what I'm there to work on. I'm there to work on the other part of him. The other part is to reach that's his soul, and why at the end I'm just saying to him, what do you want to do? You could do anything, you know? And just bounce there for it. But in the end, it's like me, it is father, son, but it has all sorts of other elements.
But you are, go ahead.
I was just going to say that he's saying that what you've chosen to exploit in my character is not a flaw. This relationship I had with this woman is not a character flaw. This was an amazing relationship I had, and because I had it, I've really lived. And that's what he tells Will. And essentially, Will's only comeback is, well, then why aren't you doing that now? Why have you stopped? And we always felt the characters were parallels. You know, they were both kind of stagnant when they meet each other, and because of this interaction, they end up moving on in a healthy way.
When did you know that you wanted at least to entertain, if not to be whatever you are?
It was that time when I saw my mother. When did I know? I think it was after high school.
Really?
Yeah, first year of college. I knew that there was kind of slight tendencies that way.
You did have tendencies.
Yeah. What are you doing? Just performing. What is that about? Nothing. What are you doing? Better late than never. No, it was. I think it occurred in college where I took this improvisational theater class, and something was so freeing about that I flunked out all of my political science courses.
But did well in improvisational theater.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, we did it. Oh, very well, very well. And it seems
the
to have
man
done.
born.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Lord, yes. 'Tis that thing that I do well now. Interspoken thus. I have brought my mind hither, and my mind will flow thusly upon the questions thou hast riddled me. And know, my friend, that in the end, you must suppose that Charlie Rose knows.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. So that was, that was the beginning where it really started to kick out. And it's been like pretty much from then on doing this.
Is there one great thing you want to do? I mean, is it this do you get more satisfaction from this kind of thing? Or do you, in the end, get the most satisfaction when you're out there with an audience?
It's equal in different ways. I mean, it's like comparing hang gliding and, spelunking. I mean, this one is a kind of the idea of how intimate this piece is. And when it works and it reaches people on that intimate level, it's just as meaningful to me as performing live. It's different, and but it gives me the same satisfaction. But performing live is this extraordinary. It's cheaper than Prozac, and it's this great release and this amazing kind of fulfillment of. The one caveat is it's performing live, and when you're really creating. I mean, when you asked him, is this old stuff or new?
Yeah.
That's an old line, my friend. I've heard that one. But when you really find a new piece, then there's something wonderful. The creation, the idea of when you create, that's extraordinary. That I really.
But do you sit down and write this stuff at all?
No, I basically it's
A free association.
yes. Free Associates. That sounds like a law firm.
Free Association.
Young and Freud. All right, we're Free Associates. Raise your right hand or your left, whatever you want to do. It's like, what do you do?
Whatever your mother tells you to.
If it's not one thing, it's your mother. Stay with me, and here we go. It's like putting a say right here and walk away. Your mother will know you better.
By the year 2000, Robin Williams had already appeared in more than 30 feature films. This conversation centered on the challenges of acting and improvisation.
What you should do is combine Shakespeare and stand-up.
We could.
We could.
Is this not a chicken that I have held? Did not the two Jews enter the bar and on entering find that it was theirs? All is undone till the Muslim doth drink the Scotch. I shall know thy name. This show, one rose yet there sits, and yet all time outside the day the Wall Street crumbles, Nasdaq like bungee rises. Is it a between these, this fall of some, till Bill Gates doth open the windows of time, and Rome will be. We will all be undone, and yet simply find ourselves waiting for this mealtime. Oh, till Bill, yet not knowing why, the intern hath done a trick of tongue, but not knowing her name, she hath gone away. Gentle Monica, know not your time. The ties that bind he doth wear for thee. Aye, you are simple and free, and till Kenneth's star doth shine anon, we will not hear this, till the moon above is gone. Oh, vexed thing, Charlie Rose, the time is yours. For you, my lord. For you.
Yes.
Yeah. Shakespeare's only play, so that's the way you like it.
Shakespeare rules. I do like it.
That's the great Venice, California Shakespeare. Shakespeare rules! Dude, tights! Go with it! Shakespeare rules.
No. Yes.
Did you ever see that? There was a great article, I think, in Los Angeles Magazine. It was the studio's notes to Shakespeare.
No. What do you say?
Who is this character, Yorick, and why do we need him? It's like a great thing about, can we make the character more likable? Does his father have to die? You know, can the ghost be less of a hallucination and more of a family friend?
Can we change the ending?
Can the ending be happy? Does he have to die? Can't he wake up and look on?
And doesn't he need a girlfriend?
Yeah. And does she have to die too? It's so bleak. We really want to go. Can it be called Portland? Or...
That's why you're leaving this business temporarily.
Temporarily, yeah. You get
Because
tired of those notes. Like when I saw Popeye again, I remember that an agent called me and said, "Robin, can't you open your other eye?" I went, "No, he only has one." Yes, it's called Popeye. He was thinking it'd be much more, and the character would be more likable if he could open both eyes. He said, "No, pal, that's the way he's been for 50 years. Oh, I can't see. Oh, it's all different. You want, can we understand him? No, that's part he mumbles. I'm sorry.
It's just
It's the business, you know. It's always that thing of, maybe that's why stand-up appeals, because there's no rules.
Is there any fear of failure when you're up there?
Oh, yeah. But I guess you kind of have to get over that and take a chance, because you have to really, you have to fail in order to find the new. I mean, that's what's been nice about going in these clubs, that sometimes...
You have to fail to find the new.
Yeah, you have to kind of go through, you have to kind of take the chance of going there, even bomb, I guess, but it's like to really kind of let go and to say, to really, because it kind of peels away. What happens is it shakes you up, it scares you, and then you'll go back and work harder, and then you'll, it's like the old, it's all, I guess maybe it's the same way of, on anything where you kick it out, it doesn't work, but then you come back and your mind goes, try step 2. Go to phase 2 now. Don't fall back, and I'm going for the blue stuff. Stay with me.
Stay with me.
Go, we're going ahead. We're going towards the comedy wasteland. You're standing on it, look. Segways, I don't need no stinking segways. Come on, go with me.
Keep going.
Fight through it, don't be. And you find, you go out, and eventually, somehow, something will kick in. That's why it takes a while, but if you have the courage, you can do it.
2002 was a year of change for both Robin Williams and myself. It was directed by Mark Romanek in 1 Hour Photo. It was his first psychological thriller. I was recuperating from heart surgery. That would also become a topic of many of our conversations.
Come on now, son.
Shut up.
I got a new heart. Leave me alone. Come on now.
A new valve. We got it right there.
One valve. Valve. Come on, had it done by Sears. While you wait.
We went down to the pig farm.
Bobby, we got another one here for Mr. Rose. Give me Louise, the good one.
Yeah.
Give me a big valve.
Yeah, Louise ready. We've been fattening her up.
Fattening her for a week. Yeah. She's got the biggest valve I've ever seen.
That's what we need. He's a big boy. We need a big valve.
Big boy. Bring the big boy.
And make sure it's healthy, because Mr. Rose wants to live a long, long time.
Don't bring me Teddy.
He's not so good. Teddy sleeps all the time.
I saw that pig eat smoking the other day. It's hard to see a pig with little cloven hooves.
It's not the one we want. No, we want the one. We want the young one, the big one, the right one.
Yeah, you don't want smoked pork.
Though you made these 3 movies in which you play a bad guy.
Right.
Was there some need in you? Was there some reason you wanted to go out and tackle things that you hadn't done before?
I wanted to have people to understand my inner self. I never meant to hurt anybody. They shouldn't have been there. They should never have looked at me that way. I wanted to.
I had these demons, and I had to get them out.
My head was like a fishbowl, and the bubbler was broken. I had. That's a bad one. Even a therapist would go, ask him about that. But I think the idea was, as an actor, wanting to play those characters, because, as Anthony Hopkins said, they're no longer bound by the laws of likability.
Yeah.
That you have a character that can be so, and in this case, so kind of normal, hyper-normal, and banal in many ways, that you no longer have to be charismatic. And we went out of our way to take away all of that. Right off the bat, Mark designed the makeup with Cherie Mins to be very much totally opposite of who I am, thinning the hair, blonding the hair out, glasses, clothes that I would not want to keep a single item of. Clothes that if you set on fire, even the fire would go, I
don't want it. Yeah. All right. Do you specifically aware of the fact that you don't want people to see Robin Williams? You want them to see the character?
That's what we started up front, and that's why it was great to have Mark, because he would monitor it very much and say, that's not Cy.
Yeah.
And it was great to have, because it's about, once again, it's all the details, the minutiae, everything in the sets. It's all part of it. It all fits in. Someone said another thing one day. I was walking in the Walmart and I disappeared. That's a great compliment. It means that all of a sudden...
They didn't see Robin.
Yeah, I mean, but also they didn't see Cy. Yeah. That he disappeared and became part of it.
Yeah.
And that type of
detail has been really lovely and interesting to have. And it's the thing that you said, Dion Arbus said, that the more detailed you are in your work, the more universal it is. Yeah. And the behavior and all those little things that people have come up to me after and said, "I love your shoes." I went, "Thank you." No, I mean in the movie. And they love the fact that when I walk, you know, it's that, you know, that kind of the squeakiness of that. Everything gets under people's skin, the sound, the images. That's a great thing.
Do you have to put brakes on an instinct to improvise?
No, because like we talked in the beginning, I would have moments to just blow the doors off. I couldn't be, if I got method, and sometimes even Mark had to say, "You're getting too tense with it," because I would go method and be, "I've got to do this," and be going, and he'd go, "Just blow it out for a moment." I'd go blow it out, then come back and be very free, and be very kind of calm. There's kind of a residual energy that you said existed afterwards, which was great.
Well, I think it, you know, there's a lot of tension that's created because we know Robin Williams from, you know, talk shows and the comedies and the stand-up. So we know that he's got this volcanic amount of, you know, of energy. So when he's playing this very repressed, restrained character, we know he's repressing a volcano. And that creates a lot of tension. If another actor, we may suspect he's, you know, repressing a hiccup, it's not as tense.
It's like, but yeah, and it keeps that going, and you're charged up. But it helped to have that kind of freedom to go off, and then you come back, and then there's this thing where you're very much there and present. And people would say that they're, you know, registering when you're just watching someone, that they would pick up on a lot of things. When that's very good. That's what we wanted. That when you have a character, most of the time it's just observing, which is a very interesting, delicate line to walk, where you're looking at other people, and you have to be with this kind of mixed bag of envy, anger, all these different things kind of going through. Not just one emotion, but many, like as in life, where lots of things are going on simultaneously, which is great.
I don't know how to ask this question, but I'm interested in the answer. Is it where are you and where do you want to go now in terms of this?
With what I've been doing?
Yeah.
The same. I want to keep doing interesting movies like this. And, you know, I'm 51, so I'm getting towards Walter Brennan. Like, you're good at characters. But I want to do interesting films, work with interesting people. And, you know, that's, because you get to a certain point, you say, what are you leaving behind? And if it's movies like this, I say, great.
Yeah,
you know, it's something that has an effect and that, you know, kind of has a half-life. That's a wonderful thing. Doing the stand-up has another thing that it seems to it affects people in a way. And to have access to both, it's like, you know, Brecht said, having passports to many countries. That I get the passport to do the HBO and then get the passport to do this. And it kind of takes people by surprise, but that's great, so people keep guessing.
That year would be one of Robin Williams' most prolific. 2002 saw him star in 3 feature films and an HBO special. And after 16 years, he had returned to stand-up.
I would think that comedians may have a certain brand of friendship because...
Oh, it's tough,
you know,
but it's a tough love,
because
but it's great.
It's a tough love business. And because in the beginning, everybody was hanging out at the club, just watching and learning.
Yeah, and you were there together, and then you kind of go...
A shared pain.
Oh, yeah, a mutual. Here we are there, dead men walking.
Yes.
Dead men talking. It's like that thing of, you know, and then it kind of, you go your separate ways, but you'll see people and go, oh, what's up, you know?
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. Like I saw Richard Pryor a month ago. He came up and he wanted to go see not San Quentin, come back. He wanted to see Alcatraz. And we took him to the island. It was amazing.
You took Richard Pryor to Alcatraz.
Yeah, and he got him off too.
Yeah, but he just
he wanted to go see it, and it was amazing.
Did he call you and say, or just somebody said,
Robin, get me to the island. I want to go see it.
You know San Francisco. I know you do, brother.
Yeah. Take me to the island.
You know Willie too. You get
Willie
to
Brown.
open the door.
Willie Brown.
Yeah.
Willie Brown, hardest working man in show business. Willie Brown, working up, brother, please. I want to say that it's an honor. Yo, sister, please. Willie Brown, working the room. Yeah. But it was so good to know him. And Jonathan Winters, you know, he came up. The weird thing is for Jonathan, his wedding anniversary is September 11th.
Yeah.
Rough day. So
right.
I took him to a Giants game, and you know, it was so great to have he and his wife up, and you know, just he had a good day. And for me, knowing him, meeting comedians like Jonathan, Don Rickles.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's just, and you stand and you're like a little kid. A brother, but more like uncle or like the master, the sensei, Buddha.
Yeah.
When around Jonathan, it's like being around the great one.
Oh, I remember when.
Oh, he did a great thing. A man was kissing a woman in front of us, and they were doing it for a long time, and he leaned over and said, "He's sucking the ugliness out of her." And not so loud, John. But you hang out with those guys, and you can't help but feel, you know. And someone like, I got to know Rod Steiger before he died, and for me, the stories, he would just, you want to get that stuff on tape sometimes, so people could hear all the stuff that, you know, these guys have gone through, like Walter Matthau, and meeting those people, or the few times, once or twice I met Billy Wilder, that there's such a gift that they give you this kind of sense of history, but, you know, like a knowledge born of, you know, great history, like Walter being in the Battle of the Bulge, and Steiger
Walter Matthau was in the Battle of the Bulge?
Big time.
Right.
And
My
Steiger
father
was on a
in the Battle of the
destroyer.
Bulge.
Serious?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. And these guys will tell you, and those stories alone, you're like this, and then they'll tell you, you know, being in plays and doing movies, and then it's this amazing thing, because all those guys who came out of World War II kind of went into acting as kind of like this thing you do on the GI Bill.
Yeah,
like
right.
Steiger said he went to an acting class because he heard girls were there. You know? It wasn't kind of the theater's going, there's chicks.
I know.
It's crazy. I don't know what the two of them
I think
doing
a lot
there.
of actors got started that way.
I think so, too. And comics, too. Yeah, what's that girl doing? Hey. It's like the old guy, the comic making level. That was wonderful. What show did you see, first or second? Yes, that old, that thing. But
No,
that to me is a great,
that's very old.
old joke. Yeah, bring it back. I remember that joke from 1929.
But the same thing is to be said. Do you ever? I mean, I think about like Winters. Somebody ought to be sitting with him and having a forever conversation about recording. I got a call last night from a friend of mine saying, I just had, this happens to me a little bit, and I don't have time to do as much of it as I ought to. And somebody said to me, I had the most amazing dinner last night. And he named the guy that he had dinner with. He said, he's got the most fabulous stories about the beginning of Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, you have got to talk to the guy.
You got to. And you got to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to get it down on, you know, in some medium that won't go away.
Yeah.
You know, something. I remember. But, you know, you hear from all of them, and they tell you stories that you're just going, oh, my God. And it's, you know, it's like hearing the first, you know, the audition tapes of, you know, Jimmy Stewart. Line. You know, you want to hear all these things, and, you know, and they tell you stuff that you just, that's hysterical. And, but also powerful, you know, coming through the Depression, you know, making movies and, you know, being in movies with, like, people that they, you know, like Bogart talking with, you know, Don Rickles and all these people, and there's this amazing interaction. And meeting Brando. I got to meet him once.
And?
It was insane. It was wonderful to see him just to go, Robin, this man. And I'm just going, oh, you know, there he is. You're going, I don't know, it's crazy. Give me butter. But he's an amazing guy. All of these guys have so much to tell and teach, and that's, Brando actually put together an acting class and, you know.
Oh, and put it on tape.
Yeah.
Have
so,
you seen
I
the
think,
tape?
no.
Didn't he get guys like you to help him?
Yeah, people came and showed up. But I think here's
do?
what he's doing is kind of doing what you talked about, giving back and, you know, saying, kind of sharing what he knows. And sometimes he'll ramble on and say, I don't know what that means. but he's saying, but sometimes he'll just say something, you go, whoa, it is that kind of Buddhist moment.
Yeah, you do have it. I mean, there are moments in which you just say.
Yeah, there is a Zen Cohen,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
And then there's Sam Cohen. And then there's a times when show business in those days, there was no movies. We were just doing this in front of a cave wall. How many Cro-Magnons does it take to light a fire? And it was all of this stuff that they tell you. Yeah, I think you have to get it on tape. And it helps to have people just, you know, being like a catalyst and just letting them go, because they'll tell you stuff, and then they want to tell you stuff, you know, and it's important because it's almost, it's like the verbal record or verbal and visual both, because they light up because you see them talk about it and they just remember it, and and it's like, oh yeah, baby.
To have an audience again.
It's even an audience or someone, it's the audience again combined with, and remembering it again.
Science is an interest of yours.
Oh, it's kind of fascinated by it. It's kind of, my brother started off as an optical physicist and then teaches science in Memphis.
Optical physicist.
Yeah, basically, what's that? Yeah.
But
it's
anyway.
like, you know, but I'm always kind of fascinated by it and, you know, the potential for it, you know, especially when they're talking about the human genome.
Yeah.
What the things of, you know, working on, you know, send in the clones.
Yeah.
There was
Yes.
what are you doing? Nothing. I met a Nobel Prize physicist. He said, what did you do? I've developed a specific gene therapy for a very specific form of cancer, and it really will solve our problems for the next 20 years. And he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just having lunch. But you meet them, and they're very, very kind of quiet people who've solved the problem.
We're figuring out how the brain thinks.
Yeah, we're basically, I've worked out, you know,
be back.
total neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
You know, how are you doing? Oh, I'm fine.
That's it. And what do you do?
Yeah,
Well, I talk on television.
I make noises.
I talk on television. I make noises.
Yeah, I make noises.
Yeah.
Yeah, what Peter Lorre says, I make faces. I like to make faces. Why won't they let me into there? I never did anything wrong. I was never hurting any of us.
Where was that from?
It was, actually, he had a couple, but it was in M, which was, you know, but that was in German. But he he did a monologue once on a television show where he talked about, my head is like a fishbowl, and everyone sees inside of it. I can't imagine Ed Sullivan going, "Oh, it's Peter Lorre right now, doing a wonderful monologue from Psycho, doing a incredible sociopath."
What musical instruments do you play?
I tried to play the saxophone once, and they had this wonderful black saxophone player who said, "Don't hurt it. You're hurting the instrument, you know."
Be kind to it.
Be kind, yeah. You don't, finger it. Treat it like a woman, not like you're trying to grab yourself. It sounds like a whale being, sodomized. Let it go. My favorite is you listen to those old blues records. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Like when Bonnie Raitt's going out to find all these great old blues artists.
I remember it was 1927. I had just gotten out of prison for the 7th time.
Yes.
I wrote this song called "Stay Away From Me." I can't remember all the other words, but this song was written after a night of lovely evening with a woman who I found out later on was a man. But we had ourselves some wonderful love.
Yeah.
It was all you never know.
Before I found
that
out.
night I looked down in your eyes. You greeted me with a happy surprise. I didn't know.
And it's all, for me, I would love to play music, but I haven't had the skill or the learning. Or as Peter Cook said, I'd love to be a lawyer, but I never had the learning. I never had the learning for that.
But did you have the ear for it?
Somewhat. I just didn't have the hand for it, the ability to kind of play,
Yeah, but to do what you do.
Yeah,
which
there's
is
a musicality
There
to
is
it.
a musicality.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
there
always a
really is.
rhythm to it.
There's rhythm, there's musicality, and there's a pitch.
There is.
Yeah.
Some people are higher pitch. Some people pitch like that. Some people pitch and catch.
Do you paint?
No, I wish, but no.
Do you create art at all other than what you do as a performer?
I paint visually. I dance. No, I haven't painted. My mother used to sculpt, but no, I never did.
Yeah. But you read a lot.
Yeah, that's my main thing, is reading and kind of sampling. As my lovely wife says, dust jacket literate. I'll just be kind of halfway through going, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good, especially now, reading all these different histories of, like, you start reading about the Crusades going, okay, wait a minute, there's a bit of repetition going on here. And you start to read all about, that gives me a sense of things repeating, which is not good. And science, once again, of, global warming.
Right.
I said the Coyote Accord. No, it's Kyoto, George. That's a good car. No, that's Toyota. No, she's a great singer. No, that's LaToya. Just going, forget the dysphagia. Come over here, son. Work with me. Dad, can I do this?
When Robin returned to this table 5 years ago, the quick wit and self-deprecating humor was still there. But now he was having health issues, and my friend became a bit more reflective on both his career and his life.
So what are you doing in Weapons of Destruction?
Self-destruction?
Self-destruction.
Talking about pretty much everything that's kind of happened, the heart surgery.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea of even the valves, they gave me the choice of getting, different valves. The porcine valve, which I said is wonderful. You're already inoculated for swine flu. And you can find truffles.
Yes.
And a bovine valve, which is great because you can crap standing up. You're more stubborn. But it is that weird...
Play in the dirt.
Play in the dirt. How are you doing? College kids tip you over at night. Yeah. And I thought, because after the heart surgery, you find yourself getting very emotional. And I thought, I got so emotional, I thought instead of a valve, they gave me a tiny vagina. I know it sounds like an Elton John song. Where you doing? Tiny vagina.
So when did you know you were not doing so well?
I was out on the road doing the tour initially, and I would finish shows and just be burnt. Like, this is more than exhaustion. Something else is going on. You get that really run-down thing. Yeah. And then when they went and they looked at the valve, they did the angiogram, which it was kind of weird, and it was just like... The leaking was like, and then it was causing you,
Yeah, oh, yes.
And look at you, Charles Rose, with your French valve, huh? We had to look a long way to find a nice piece of him for him. Bring the nice vache for Charles, huh? Ici. Maintenant, Charlie, these are the choices you have here. Look around. Cow, pig, chicken heart, if you want. Small, but you lay a good, fresh egg.
Big horse.
Big horse. Oh. And then you can hang out of the shorts. How proud will you be there? Look at Charles, he's happy to be here. But it's crazy. I mean, all of that stuff has been part of the act.
Yeah. But how do you feel today?
Wonderful. I'm like 98% there, I think. Letterman, when I talked to him, and he said quintuple bypass.
I know.
He said,
I mean, he almost really went down for the
big
count.
time. I think they went in and
Like within hours, he was.
Yeah, when the hours were coming. You know, he said it took a year.
He said, I think he went for a checkup, and he said, "You're going to an operation in an hour." He said,
"Oh yeah,
an hour?
Oh, big time."
Yes.
I had a doctor in Miami who wanted to operate the next day, and then there was a wonderful Italian surgeon who was kind of standing there going, "You may not want to go with a guy who wants to go on vacation." You know, so
Yes.
you get to pick. I had the luxury of being able to look for the best doctors.
Yeah, I did
and
too,
I finally
actually,
found one who'd done 4,000 surgeries, all of them amazing.
All of them successful.
Yeah, you don't want a guy who's done 6. 3 didn't go so well. Okay, let's see what we can do. Like a Vegas dealer. Okay, everybody, let's try this.
So, how long were you in recuperation?
About, I think it was like 3 months, literally, to kind of just ready to go back out again.
But you feel better today.
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do too. I mean, much better.
Oh, that's the idea.
I know.
You don't want to be going, nice.
I'm getting a lot of oxygen to my brain now.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's really
Remember things.
You appreciate the little things like breath.
Exactly.
You know, and that idea, you do. It
Yeah.
is much better. Yeah, I feel I'm back. It's wonderful.
You were here at this table when I had my first valve transplant.
Right.
Here it is.
Good luck with that thing. I'm happy about that.
You know what happens to me as I walk around the street? People will look at me and they'll say,
Yeah, that's nice.
It's better than if you people go. They go. When you go like. All right. What'd you have? What I had? I had a penile transplant. What'd you do? Ready from a pig? Nope. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, come over here, Robin. You got to pull this carriage through the park. I told him right there ever since he had that transplant. He's been pulling my carriage through the park. It's been so great. Has to stop once in a while. Yeah, but that's all right. It's been
"Hello, doctor, could I maybe get another appointment?"
Yeah, another appointment. What's happened? I don't know. Here's the deal. I need 2 horseshoes. Yeah. Yeah. And how's that mare? What do you mean a stud fee? How old am I?
4.
4, yeah. Bobby, how you doing? Welcome to the genetic thing. Eventually go,
How's that? I feel good since I had that fig valve put in. A lot of people are saying it hasn't affected me. Charlie said I should get a fig valve. I don't know what's about that. And people go,
Robin, hi, it's Michael on line 2. What are you doing? No one knows.
this is my boy Gil. I don't know, you know. Bob, yeah, ever since that genetic research has come through, and the Botox is working, and the kids are happy. How you feel? You feel better since the elephant hormone? What are you doing? That would be amazing. That's the next step. You know that people are gonna, you know, people now, you see people get those little contact lenses with the goat eyes. How are you doing? Great party. Thanks, Charlie. Wow.
That was good. Was that?
That was fun.
That was one of the best.
That was a wild riff, as they say. That was free range. I like it.
That's
I love when you go open field. Charlie gives you open field.
He does.
You go full tilt with Charlie.
That's right. He'll show him what you can do.
Yeah, bring out everything. Throw everything in the mix. Charles is going to go for it.
He's going to
Don't
like
be afraid.
it.
Charles has a valve. Isn't it nice when people do come up and say to you, way to go.
Way to go.
All of a sudden there comes Indian going, you are better now. He who runs like a horse will have a great day. Hey, Charles is good. He is now happy. The brain is back online.
Exactly. And he can breathe, and he can sleep,
Oh, big
and he
time.
can walk and talk.
All of those
things.
That's a
make
great
a difference.
gift. Yeah, huge.
How much of this is simply natural comedic talent?
I mean, I think Lenny Bruce said it best. You start off trying to win the attention of your mother.
Yes.
Just for one of these. You know, is this thing on? And then you work from there, and then I think it becomes...
I'm thirsty, Mother.
Yeah, please.
Laugh at me, because I'm so thirsty.
Maybe now. That was funny. But it's the idea.
Maybe that was funny.
Yeah, good luck. I think as it goes along, it becomes something you learn and you work on, and then... But the moments of, like, if you do get, like, the open field, like you saw the other thing, it's just sometimes you just get a gift and you go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a gift. I mean, I don't know, 10
Some
people.
would say touched. It's like Oliver Sacks used to say it was voluntary Tourette's.
Is that what he said?
You know, and that's why I think even you look at Joe Biden and Joe says things that even people with Tourette's go, no.
No, didn't do that, did
No,
he?
Joe, no, Joe, wow, no, Joe. But I think sometimes it is both. Yeah, it's a nice combination of the two.
Yeah. There are few people that can do what you do.
You mean that are actually out of institutions?
Yes, and that are not.
Yeah, there's a few, and there's older ones like Jonathan Winters.
Yeah.
Younger ones like Patton Oswalt, and people who are just free and they can go anywhere with it, which is kind of wonderful.
Jonathan was your hero.
Big time, still is.
Still is.
Whenever I hang with him.
Where does he live?
He lives in Santa Barbara, and it's great because you'll see him and he'll talk to people. A woman once
in character?
Not really in character once. In character, kind of many characters.
Right, many characters.
Hard to pick one. He once parked in a handicapped parking zone. A woman said, "You're not handicapped," and he went, "Madam, can you see inside my mind?" And at that point, he went, boom.
Oh,
but
God.
He's amazing.
So
to hang with him is the best because he just goes.
Is he ever on television? Does he do anything anymore?
Yeah, he does a lot of different things. I mean, he'd prefer to do more, but I think the idea of seeing him is always the best.
Yeah.
And for me, he's the Buddha. He's the one that kind of, the gift that I got from him.
When you go need a recharge,
Oh, big time.
you go see him.
Or call him and just,
Call
he'll
him
be,
up.
"Who is that? I'm sitting in a hot tub full of Indian head nickels. I'm trying to wash them all. Hello, Mr. Wilson. Robert Wilson. Send me money." But he always makes me laugh, and that's kind of the thing. You go to him and I go, "Oh, cool." Yeah. And I got to hang out with recently Mort Sahl, who's amazing.
I didn't.
Oh, the best.
When you went into television and then went into film with Good Morning Vietnam and all of that, was it a sense of coming home for you? Because that was what you were trained to do at Juilliard. You weren't trained to do stand-up at Juilliard.
No, I mean, doing television. I mean, the television was more like stand-up acting. I mean, when I finally did movies, that was what I was trained. I mean, that's kind of like...
So that came easy to you when you made that transition?
No, not easily. I mean, because at first when you're doing film, example, I was doing The World According to Garp, and I improvised. It was the first day of shooting.
Who directed? I forgot.
George Roy Hill.
Yeah.
And I improvised a line, and he made a face like this, like... I went, "Not good." He went, "No. Just say the lines, and commit to that." I went, "Okay." And that was the first great lesson. The second great lesson came from Peter Weir, who said, "You know, you have great power listening." And I went, "Really?" He went, "Yes. That's the second part of the equation. When you listen to someone, it's quite fascinating. And stillness is very powerful." And I went, "Second great lesson, you know." And third great lesson is always find out where catering is. But it was the idea of these guys were giving me these great lessons.
Listening is great.
Yeah, and the idea of really listening and the idea of what it means to be engaged in listening. And you find, and the other great gift was Jeff Bridges, who said, whenever there's an accident in terms of filming, not like something really falling down, but a line may get flubbed or something goes off, he said, that's a gift, because that forces you to be in the moment and deal with it. Rather than trying to improvise and create that, it's something that happens and everybody's
respond to
what's going on immediately. And it was another kind of, oh, cool. And don't be afraid to try those things, and it forces everybody to kind of engage, as in life, with the immediate moment.
I think he has a very good movie out. He's getting enormous attention.
He is one of the great American actors.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and he's underappreciated because I think he's so natural that people think that's just him. Each and every one of his performances is different and iconic.
Yeah.
And like, the great Lebowski, and The Dude is one of the great stoner characters of all time.
Yes, indeed.
If in California, it's a documentary.
What does iconic mean?
I think it means something that really just stands, that it is, for me, if someone's doing an impression, that becomes iconic. Like, Chris Walken is iconic and beyond. And it's something that just stands on its own, that is so distinct that it stands on its own.
I love talking to him, don't you, Chris Walken?
Because punctuation is gone. A friend once saw him. He was standing in a puddle with his socks, and everything was just in his socks. And a friend said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Today, I'm an alligator." And they asked him. He said, "Chris, if you could have anything you could have, what would you want?" He said, "A tail." Because then you'd know if I was happy, my tail would be up, and it would always move according to your emotions. I'm surprised.
Yes.
Question mark. Punctuation. Great. Now, maybe.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Who else do you do that you love?
Nicholson's the best, just because he's so out there. He does things. I love the fact everybody in The Departed's doing hardcore Boston accents. He's going, I'm not going there. Just out on my own. This is who I am, you know. When he won his 3rd Academy Award, I was standing with him. I had just won mine, and he stood up and he was standing next to me. He went, Robbo, I've got one for every decade. Good for you, isn't it? What a great night for me. Yeah.
I mean, have you ever bought that there's some connection between tragedy
tragic
and
life
and
I think
comedic talent?
Well, comedic talent is the way that, survival mechanism. Yeah, I buy into that. It becomes that because they went through it, and it was part of how they got through it. I mean, Richard Pryor said he had to be the funniest guy around because just to not get crap kicked out of him, and the idea of, and it was also him dealing with the childhood of his mother being, working in a whorehouse, and the idea of, and the comedy, and when he really found characters, because Richard Pryor, when he started off, was doing like Cosby, and he said that, and then one night it snapped, and he went, I'm not doing this, I'm not tired of being this, and he found this other side of him, and it tapped into the anger and all the other things, but he was funny with it, so he can get it out.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those that everybody honors now.
Big time.
I mean, they really think
I used to see him performing at the Comedy Store getting ready for a stand-up. And he's the most amazing thing, because people want him to do Mudbone. He'd go, oh, you people, you do it. And he would do characters, and you could see him just become possessed by these characters. And it was just amazing to see him do, and go free range with it. Yeah. And then as soon as it was over, I could see him, and he was just kind of like, you could see the catharsis of it, because he was totally free on stage. He can get out the demons.
And did you have to get out demons?
I don't know. No, where are they? You know where we are, Robbo. We hang right here. The demons, where are they? Let me live with you, boy.
Come on in, Robbo. Talk to us.
Talk.
You
Come on, Robbo.
It's on your back.
Tell Charlie about the demons.
I've seen it on your back. Tell me.
Hey, Charlie. Charlie, where are we going now? Going to a strip club on Valentine's Day. Come on, Robin. It'll be fun. It'll play well with the wife.
The demons. The demons. They're more like spirits, and they're in a glass. The spirits there. Where are you? Possessed. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Jack Daniels.
What you doing? Hey, Robbo.
An optimist sees the glass half full, a pessimist sees it half empty. An alcoholic goes, where's the bottle? I became an alcoholic even thinking about alcoholic. Thanks for the vodka, Charlie.
Yeah, you're okay today?
Totally. Okay, that's not
the best term. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm better, and also I feel great, and that's kind of wonderful.
But did you go through certain kind of whatever?
Yes, I went through a certain kind of whatever. 3 years of heavy drinking. Whatever. That's a nice. What are you doing? Welcome to the Whatever Center. Hi, my name's Rob. I have a problem with whatever. That's a nice vague way.
Is that the way they actually do it? You have to stand up and say, I'm Robin, and I have a problem with whatever.
I'm whatever. Yeah, finally. Welcome to whatever.
Whatever look like you're looking at whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm
whatever. Did you do a lot of whatever? Yeah. I did. I used to do a lot of whatever. Wake up in a field.
Did whatever get you down?
Yeah, wake up with a road flare. Yeah, what are you doing? What's your name? Oh, my God.
That's nice my valve. That's my valve.
Valve.
I told me, shut up.
I love you, baby. Yeah, there was a problem with that. And then I went to rehab in wine country just to keep my options open. But you came out the other side and went, yeah, I'm back.
And how were you different when you came out the other side?
Dry. I think a lot drier. And I think sober, and also able to experience life and go, it's pretty amazing. It's kind of, before the heart surgery, one of the more sobering moments of just going, life is extraordinary. I don't want to miss it,
Oh, man.
It's a gift,
man, I'm telling you.
And to be spending most of the time there, where were you? I don't remember.
Got it. You're absolutely right.
To come back from that is like going, oh, look. And then you realize you do have family, friends, and people go, I appreciate you. And now I can actually remember what we're talking about. How cool is that? That's kind of the gift,
Yeah.
And that's those things that gratitude. That's the simple gratitude of like, yeah. It's good. Or as one guy said, every day above ground. Much nicer. But it's all those things. I appreciate them.
Does stand-up make you a better actor?
Yeah, stand-ups are fearless in that way, because you got to be. You got to put it out there. And the acting gives you the concentration. And like you'll see a lot of stand-ups when they act, they're not afraid to just be, and to be warts and all, which is kind of what comedy is, too. And that's what's interesting. That's the same thing like when Patton Oswalt's in a movie called Big Fan, and he's fearless, and he's not funny, but just playing this wonderful kind of nebbishy, awkward guy. But as a stand-up, I mean, he's not afraid to talk about anything, and I think that kind of helps his acting the same way. For me, the stand-up, it just gives you this outlet that, you know, and you don't have to worry about it. And also the idea you don't have to always be likable. This character is not likable. He's a nebbish. You know, like when I saw the movie A Serious Man. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah, yes,
yeah,
indeed.
That man,
The
that
Coen
character,
brothers.
that's such a nebbishy character, and by the end you feel such sympathy, but you want to go, wake up! These people are, Meshuggah, wake up! Was magst du? By the end you just want to go, smack, get out!
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy that way, but as stand-up, I like both. I still keep doing both.
I'm struck by the fact that Jerry Seinfeld wanted to go back. You wanted to go back. I mean,
Sometimes
almost
it's
like
economic, but I think it's more personal. I think it's more, I don't think with Jerry it's, you know,
It's certainly not economic.
Not at all. I think it's, you get the joy from it. It is, I could say, is it a drug? There is a fix you get, and you also, and Chris Rock said it best. He said it's like being a boxer. You have to get out and have enough material to go the distance, like especially if you're doing more than 30 minutes or like an hour and a half. You got to be ready for it, and it really helps.
Some who have written about this tour have said it is more confessional.
Almost. I think I mean, it's confessional. Yeah, it's. I mean, I think the main thing that I come away from the operation with is just that I could say the same thing again: gratitude and just being.
Me too. Oh,
yeah,
man.
It's gratitude and life and appreciating life, warts and all, and whatever, and coming out the other side of whatever, and being able to go, yeah, man, I got all this, and looking at it all, and in a weird way, in the country, we're going through this transition. Are we going to make it? Yeah, I think we are. I think it's going to be a tightening period, and I think we're going to come through it.
I do too.
Yeah, and I think because that's when we deal with it. We kind of and weirdly we bitch about it and get angry, and we come through it and go, okay. But when it comes down to it, we do work together. We sometimes don't play well with others, but other times we do, and I think we can. And I think we're in that process now. For me, confessional, yeah, it's a little bit. I mean, as close as I can be to a confessional as a 58-year-old wasp. You know, that, you know, your mother and I, you know, I didn't grow up with that kind of, you bastard! I was like, you know, your mother and I are so happy. You know? My mother was a Christian Scientist who had plastic surgery, so I'm like, how confessional is that? She was a Christian Dior scientist. It worked for her, didn't it? Yeah, it worked for her. Going, darling, I believe in Mary Baker Eddy. It's like, yes, baby, sure, baby. Yeah, but that's...
God will take care.
God will take care. But for wrinkles, I need help.
God and a good surgeon. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine, Mom. It's like the lady on the Botox. Merry Christmas, darling. I wish I could express how happy I am. Merry, Merry Christmas. It's a wonderful Botox Christmas. Almost smiling now. Gathering around with friends and family. That's all I can feel.
There's your son, Zach, funny.
Big time.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's funny. Cody's funny. Cody does a great Chris Walken. Zelda's
as good as yours?
No, much better. Actually.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and he hasn't really uncorked it for me. Zach is
He
funny.
hasn't uncorked it for you?
No, I mean, I think he's kind of been hanging back, waiting for the right moment.
Yeah.
Zelda's funny. She's actually been acting, which has been great. She's done a lot of movies.
Yeah, they are what? How old are they?
Cody's 18, Zelda's 20, Zach's 25.
Yeah.
And it's pretty wonderful.
And they're all going to be in show business?
No. No!
No.
Zelda's an actress. Zach was kind of at first...
Well, that's one.
One.
All right.
Zach, I don't know. He's got all sorts of different things he's been dabbling in.
But he might or not?
I don't think so.
What do you think he's going to do?
Well, he wants to go to Harvard Business School, so I think show business, unless it's directly involved production.
He wants to run things.
Yeah, bingo.
Yeah,
God
there
bless.
you go. He wants to run Google.
Oh, please. Netanyahu. And Cody's, I think, will be a writer, because he's really, ever since he's been 10, he's been writing really interesting fiction. So.
You see yourself in each of them?
Totally. But I also see someone totally different, which is wonderful. I see a little bit of myself, but then I see this other combination, a combination of Marsha and myself, and then something that's just them, which is magnificent. And they all turned out really wonderfully. You know, there have been rough periods, but they've all turned out to be just great human beings, and really, you know, Zelda acting, but also, it's more than just acting. When people said, you know, she's a very sweet and kind woman, I went, that's as great a compliment as saying she's a great actress.
Right,
that's kind of wonderful. When they say your kids are wonderful people, you go, then we've done something right, you know.
Robin Williams did many things right. He made us laugh and cry and think and feel. He lives on, especially in the hearts of his survivors, his wife, his brother, 3 children, and 2 stepchildren. A giant among us. Robin Williams dead at 63. The great thing about having Robin Williams at the table was that you never knew what was going to happen. Take a look, and you'll see what I mean.
Robin Williams is here, the only child of a Ford executive who grew up with mostly his imagination to keep him company. He later found an audience for his comic talents and frenetic injury.
Frenetic injury?
Injury.
Well, that happened later when I was 12. What are you doing?
All right, let's just start over. Okay. Keep the tape rolling. We'll
roll
see if we
again.
can
Take two. Charlie rolls.
Robin Williams is here, the only child of a Ford Motor Company executive. He grew up with mostly his imagination to keep him company. He later found an audience for his comic talents and frenetic energy as a stand-up comedian in the late 1970s. He first came to national attention in the television series Mork and Mindy.
Yes, sir.
He went on to a feature film career.
Thank you, sir.
That has produced a string of critical and commercial successes.
Both, sir. Thank you, sir. Once again. I feel like I'm going, hey, I'm going to critical and commercial success. Hey, welcome in there. Hey, oh, man, thank you. This has been fun, and good luck with that thing. I'm happy about that.
You know what happens to me as I walk around the street? People will look at me and they'll say,
Yeah, that's nice.
It's better than if you people go. When you go like, all right. What'd you have? What I had? I had a penile transplant. What'd you do? Was it from a pig? Nope. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, come over here, Robin. You got to pull this carriage through the park. I told him right there ever since he had that transplant. He's been pulling my carriage through the park. It's been so great. Has to stop once in a while. Yeah, but that's all right. It's been
Hello, doctor. Could I maybe get another appointment?
Yeah, another appointment. What's happened? I don't know. Here's the deal. I need 2 horseshoes. Yeah. Yeah. And how's that mare? What do you mean a stud fee? How old am I? 4. 4, yeah. Bobby, how you doing? Welcome to the genetic thing. Eventually go,
How's that? I feel good since I had that fig valve put in. A lot of people are saying it hasn't affected me. Charlie said I should get a fig valve. I don't know what's about that. And people go,
Robin, hi, it's Michael on line 2. What are you doing? No one knows.
this is my boy Gil. I don't know, you know. Bob, yeah, ever since that genetic research has come through, and the Botox is working, and the kids are happy. How you feel? You feel better since the elephant hormone? What are you doing? That would be amazing. That's the next step. You know that people are going to, you know, people now, you see people get those little contact lenses with the goat eyes. How are you doing? Great party. Thanks, Charlie.
I am pleased to have Robin Williams back at this table. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Here's my question.
Oh, yes.
My God. This is a question.
8 inches. Oh, yeah. No, that's what I like to do for a fishing pole. Just give a nice, lead out 8 inches when you fly fishing. Send it out there and let the bass hook it and then pull on it. Either that or a piece of C4. You throw that in there. That's good. You see the bass fishermen there, I don't always have that thing where you put it out there and the bass are like, I'd like to sit out there and you just, a little C4 and then they come right up.
Robin Williams for the hour. Thank you.
Charlie Rose. That's my man. I remember Charlie Rose, gentle Charlie with the 2 valves. I said, Charlie, where'd you get that Parisian valve? But now Charlie can come and sing La Vie en Charlie. Alors,
oh, la divano, la vie en Charlie Rose, oh, la numéro
That's all for today, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Thanks, boss.
Just gonna let the camera keep rolling.
I live with Charlie Rose. Good thing there. I remember young Charlie Rose. I said, Charlie, go over there. And Charlie, even as a child, was doing interviews with his bear. He would line up all the little animals at a table, and he had a little tiny table, and the animal, and what are you up to, Teddy? And he had a picture, and he had just written down things, and even then he just looked at the questions and the things, and he would look at, Teddy, how long have you been stuffed? And the bear was there, and then he would turn, and the other animals would just look at him, and he would turn. As a rabbit, do you feel fear near the bear? When the rabbit, do you feel fear near this small stuffed animal? Well, we'll be right back. Thanks, Bob.